These are 5 DeWALT tools that are absolutely on another level. I think some of these will even shock DeWALT fans, but there's one here I think most people should avoid. Let's go. So check out any of these tools. I'll link them in the description, the pinned comment, and even that shop button here on YouTube if available. Probably the granddaddy of all DeWALT tools is the famous DeWALT DW735X. This one has a supercharged upgrade in it that kind of makes it stand on its own. But just a stock DW735X is probably one of the most robust, most famous DeWALT tools ever created. And this thing has been on the market for a very, very long time. I'm actually surprised they haven't done an upgrade at this point, but when something's good, why mess with it? If it ain't broke, don't fix it type thing, and this is one of those. If you're looking for a buy once, cry once type planer, this one has stood the test of time and that many people, including myself, would recommend over and over again. There are some challengers that have come on the market lately, including the Oliver planer that I reviewed that includes a helical head, but even that, there's still some things on this planer that set it apart and put it on another level from anything on the market today. First, this is a 2-speed planer. You do not get that a lot in benchtop style planers, and this is great to have. It has a finishing speed, in other words, it's slower, it's going to pull those boards through slower, it's going to give it a nicer finish. Then it has a dimensioning or faster. In other words, it's going to pull it through there faster at 96 cuts per inch, or the finishing pass is 179 cuts per inch. So you can see it's moving it slower basically through the planer so you get finer cuts if you're doing the finishing, and then moving it faster if you're just trying to dimension your boards down fairly quickly. And talking about dimensioning, this is a very, very powerful planer. It is one of the most powerful planers that I've used, benchtop style. It's hard to bog these down if you're using it properly. And one of the things I love most about this planer that I've seen nobody else do this well is that thickness gauge. When you slide the board in there, it kind of gives you a rough estimate about how much material it's going to take off. Nobody else is doing this right. This is the only one that I like on any planer. It doesn't really matter where you put the board in, anywhere across that bed, it's going to indicate. And that's where some of these other planers fall short. When you put the board in, you have to put it in a very specific place. It has to be a certain width so that it picks it up. It's just kind of half thought out. This is absolutely amazing. As far as adjusting up and down, this is one of the best as well. You're looking at 4 very big posts that rise up and down. It keeps this planer nice and steady, and that includes when you're sending boards through. There's no carriage lock here like a lot of other planers have to have that lock this carriage down to keep it from moving as you push your boards through. Because of the way this is designed, it is rock solid. You also get some quick depth settings, so you can do from 1/8 all the way up to 1 1/4 inches, so you can dimension down to that exact same thickness every single time using that. And then there's some micro adjustments as well on the bottom. As far as dust collection goes, it is fantastic. It actually has a blower in here that pushes the chips out, so you don't even need a dust collector specifically, you just need a bag or some way to catch this, and you do need something to catch it because it will produce a ton of chips. Not necessarily fine dust, but those planing chips are going to come out of there in rapid succession. Now I've got a couple of upgrades in mind that take it from the next level to the ultimate level, and that includes a Bird Helix helical head installed. You can get this either pre-installed direct from Bird Helix, I'll link to that in the description, or you can just buy it on Amazon and install it yourself. Quite a bit cheaper. It just depends on which way you would rather deal with it. I prefer just to have it done so I didn't have to worry about it. Now what that does is it gives you the Helix head or the helical head. And what that means is you got little knives that are turned at an angle, and when it's cutting the wood, it's actually cutting the wood. It's shearing it off versus chopping the wood like the straight blades that come on it. Now the straight blades that come in this planer are very good, but this helical head takes it to the next level. It gives you a really nice fine finish. It also changes the tone of the planer. In other words, the sound coming out of it's slightly less, not a ton, but you can tell the difference. But the main thing is you just get a much cleaner finish, and that means you don't have to sand as much because it's pretty good. I think what's coming out of there is probably about 120 grit. Another benefit is you're not getting a ton of tear out, especially if you're using species of wood that are prone to tearing out. Curly maple and those types just don't tear out as easy using the helical head. It is a fantastic upgrade if it's in your budget. I've also installed this digital gauge, and what I like about that is I can zero that out at any point, and then I can raise it back up and start planing again and get back to zeros. That way I can get the exact thickness of all of my boards, no matter if I move the planer up and down or not. This is a great add-on as well. There's a couple of different brands here. I've got iGaging, but Wixie also makes one, a very popular brand to install on this, and they're very easy to install. Overall, I think if you're in the market for a benchtop style planer, it's very difficult to go wrong with this one. It just depends on your needs and what you're looking for. Now, these are quite pricey, but they do go on sale on occasion throughout the year, maybe 2-3 times a year. And if you don't know, I have a daily deals email that I'm sending out. And if this goes on sale, it's going to be in that email. So you might want to sign up. There's a first link in the description and the pinned comment, and it's absolutely free. I just like sharing these deals to help you save some money. Not just for the planer, but basically any tool you're going to be looking for. The next tool that's on another level, and I haven't seen this mentioned a whole lot in a lot of places, is the brand new DeWALT XR drill. Now this came out last year, if I'm not mistaken, and it is a huge upgrade. This is by far the most powerful drill I own, and it will blow you away. It does come with a handle, so if you do need that extra hold. As far as ergonomics go, it's not overly heavy, and it fits in the hand extremely well, which makes it comfortable to use, and I really appreciate that. What's so special here is the fact that it has anti-rotation. In other words, if it goes to twist on you, it stops the motor so it doesn't break your wrist or injure you in some way. And I absolutely love that. If you've ever had a drill hang when you're drilling a hole and it twists, you know how bad that hurts. This is built to prevent that. Not only that, it's packed full of features. And most anything you're going to want in a drill is going to be included in this. First and foremost, it has 3 different speeds, and most drills only have 2 speeds. So it's good to see that we have 3 speeds here. This has 11 different torque settings, or 12 if you include the drill setting, and then also the hammer settings. So this is a hammer drill. Another cool feature here that I haven't seen on any other drill, let me know if it's there on somebody else's, is the light settings here. This has a very, very bright LED light, which can come in handy. But what's really cool here is you can see there's different settings. If I go over to 20 minutes, it literally says 20 minutes right there. What that means is that light is going to stay on for 20 minutes before shutting itself off automatically. And they say it's negligible battery drain on this because it is an LED light, so it's pulling very little power. I'm telling you, this thing is very bright. So if you just need a flashlight to light up a small area at some point to stay on, I'm glad they included that feature, and it's very easy to turn off with that push button. We can go no light, we can go light on trigger, and then we can go 20 minutes on. So there's 3 different settings there. Now I put this drill through the test and tried to make it hang. I actually did make it hang several times. I used a forcer bit and I would slightly tilt it after I got good and drilled into the hole, and it would literally hang and start to twist, and it would shut the motor off. All you have to do to reset it is let off the trigger, and then you're good to go again. So it's not like it shuts the drill down or does any damage to it or anything like that. It's just a super genius feature, and that's why this drill is on another level. The next tool that's on another level, there's not a lot out there. There's not many people making this other than one other company, and it's called Grabo. But this is the DeWALT Grabo. And if you haven't seen this, I showed this a little while back in a video briefly. This is one of the most genius tools that you can buy for your wood shop or many other trades really, but specifically for us in the shop, this is going to help you carry sheet goods, specifically plywood, MDF, fiberboard, that sort of thing. This thing is absolutely on another level. First, this works on the DeWALT 20-volt platform. So if you already have DeWALT batteries, that's all you need. The way this works, it's basically a giant suction cup, and it'll hold a ton of weight or pressure on there. And when you activate it, it basically suctions itself down to the plywood or whatever you're trying to pick up. It doesn't matter if it's like a quartz countertop or marble or plywood or whatever you've got that's a flat surface, it will pull itself down and hold that pressure so that you can carry it around. And if you don't know, or if you've ever tried to move, especially 3/4 inch sheets of plywood, even 1/2 inch sheets of plywood in and out of the shop by yourself, it can become a very difficult task, especially when you go to put these things down because it's just kind of awkward, a big old sheet of plywood. So having a handle that you can install anywhere on the plywood to help you carry it is absolutely amazing. There's not a lot to this. There's a power button that turns it on, there's a button that activates the suction, and there's a button that releases the suction. It'll tell you on the screen what bar or PSI, depending on the way you want to read that. I like the PSI version. It'll tell you how much pressure it's pulling, and then there's a little sun cover over the screen if you're using this outside to help you read it easier. It also comes with a little tray that you can keep this in to prevent gunk from getting up in there, and it does come with some replacement filters and gaskets there on the bottom. They even give you a handle for your weight plates if you work out, so that's pretty cool. If the power shuts off or the battery runs out, you'll also hear an audible warning letting you know, hey, this thing's off, put it down before bad things happen. I think this is one of those tools that can just be a game changer for you if you need to be able to move this type material around by yourself, or even getting 2 of these and having 2 people, depending on how heavy the thing is. If it's a marble slab or quartz slab or something like that, I can see these being extremely handy. By far, one of the best plunge routers I have ever bought, and that is this DeWALT plunge router. 2¼ peak horsepower in a cordless router. This thing is packed with features and it could be one of the safest routers you can buy. This is a variable speed router. It operates on the 20-volt platform. Again, so if you have those 20-volt batteries, it will work with it. Although I will tell you, the PowerPack or PowerStack batteries do work better on this versus just the 20-volt max or XR batteries. It just, we'll talk about it later, but it matters. Probably one of the best plunge actions I have ever used on a router is this DeWALT. It is just so smooth. The way it works is everything is within the left hand's reach, so your fingers can operate the lock, and then the plunge button is also operated by the thumb, but it's all extremely accessible with that left hand, which makes it very, very nice to use. We also have a turret style depth stop setting here, but they also have those screw heads on top, so you can actually adjust those to be micro adjustable anywhere you need it to be. And then the depth setting gauge is there for you as well, so you can get a visual representation of where you want the depth to stop. It does come with a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch collet, so you can use basically any bit you're gonna want. The dust collection on this is extremely good, but the way they have it integrated down into the plunge, the suction is right there where the bit's at, especially if you're doing plunge cuts, the dust collection is fantastic. Now on even edge profiles, there's an attachment here that covers half of the bit, so you still get very good dust collection. Probably one of the better dust collections I've seen on a router. The ergonomics on this thing is next level. The way the handles are tilted forward, the way it holds in the hand, like it's just a joy to use this thing. The way the power switch works, has a little flip switch for safety, soft start, and a brake to stop it fast. They've thought of everything on this router that you could possibly pack into one, including the safety features. First, it has overload protection. So you'll see this triangle start flashing if you're pushing it too hard. It's going to let you know that you're kind of taxing that motor to slow down. You're just going to slow down your push rate or your plunge rate, depending on what you're doing, and it'll go away. Like that light will stop flashing. It's just kind of helping you protect your motor, protect battery life, that sort of thing. But the star of the show here is the anti-rotation. If it detects that rotation, a kickback, anything like that, it stops the motor. And then the red light comes on, letting you know that there was an activation. All you do to reset it, let off the trigger, start again, unless it gets another kickback, and then it'll stop it. This is an absolute genius feature. I wish it was on every router, honestly, and I think it's one of the better things that they've come out with in the last year. DeWALT absolutely crushed it on this. I can do nothing but recommend this router. It is one of the best routers I own. Link in the description if you want to check it out. Now I do have some bonus picks for you if you want to stick around, but next up is the actual batteries themselves. Now DeWALT has a few different style of batteries, and it can be kind of confusing if you're just now getting into DeWALT stuff. You're like, why are there so many batteries? So you've basically got 4 variations of their battery. You have the 20-volt max, you have the 20-volt max XR, then you have the 20-volt PowerStack, and then you have the 20-volt XR PowerPack. What's the difference? These little 20-volt max just says lithium ion. Typically these come in a lot of the combo kits. They're kind of the cheaper batteries, the smaller amp hour batteries, typically 3 amp hour or so is what you're going to get. And so these aren't going to last you as long as far as battery life, and they're not going to deliver the most power. They're just like the basic battery. Not that there's anything wrong with them, they're just the lower end of their lineup. Next up is the 20-volt max XR. Now these come out a few years ago, several years ago actually, and you'll see these in a lot of your combo kits as well. These deliver a lot of power. They deliver a lot of battery life as well. These are solid battery packs. But then over the last couple of years, they've really started pumping these out. And this is the PowerStack and the PowerPack. Milwaukee has it, Ryobi has it. All the major brands has the tabless technology. What this does is give you better battery life, and it delivers more power. There's some sensors and stuff in here that kind of detect everything that's going on and talks to each other when you're charging them and all kinds of good stuff. Basically what this is, it's going to give you more power and more battery life in short. DeWALT has a whole video on it. I'll pop some of it on the screen here and just kind of show you what's going on. But the way this delivers power to your tool ultimately gives you better performance and better battery life at the same time, and there's an absolute difference. I've tested this on the Ryobi tools and the DeWALT tools and several others. And so if you want the most power and the most battery life, go with the PowerPacks. And as far as I know, 8 amp hour right now is the only PowerPack there is. Unless I'm mistaken, you can let me know in the comments. Now, a lot of times you can get these PowerStacks on a very good sale. And these are absolutely amazing battery packs, especially if you can catch them on sale. I would grab them up. They are really nice. But if you want the most power, the most battery life, the newest technology, go with the PowerPack, especially if you're using it on this big XR drill, and most especially if you're using it on this beast of a router. Now before we get to the DeWALT tool that I think most people should avoid, DeWALT people are probably gonna come at me on this, but there's a few bonus picks that I wanna share with you before we talk about that one. Number one, the Hex Key Set. Metric and Imperial, basically most any common size you're gonna need for most things in the shop. I grab these all the time. They live right here behind me in this drawer. I use them all the time for assembling tools and stuff that my wife orders inside that we have to assemble, or anything really in the house that needs a hex key. You have the size you're gonna need. I think this is one of the best sets they make, and I'm glad I bought it. They're nice, they're compact, they don't take up a lot of room, but they're wildly useful. Next, the DeWALT tool I think every person should own, no matter what platform you're on or what tool brand you love. This is a little right angle drill attachment, immensely useful. To getting into tight spaces, it connects to any drill and or 1/4 inch impact. You can put any 1/4 inch bit on there, and then you can drill up into tight spaces, drive screws into tight spaces. You should have one. They're very inexpensive. Seriously, go get one. Last but absolutely not least is one DeWALT set that I bought several years ago that I have zero regrets on, is the DeWALT Socket Set. You can get various different kits at various different prices. I'll link to this exact one that I bought a few years ago, but it has basically anything I'm gonna need around the shop and the house to do most anything I'm gonna want, like assembling tools or working on the car or anything like that. We have deep barrel sockets, shallow sockets. They have some driver bits too in this kit. All the extensions you're gonna need, and then of course the 1/4, 3/8, and 1/2 inch drive ratchets. Just a fantastic set at a very good value in my opinion. Now there's one tool here I think a lot of people should avoid from DeWALT, and although I liked it for the most part when I reviewed it, I don't think it's right for most people, and that is the DeWALT track saw. Now it's a 60 volt track saw, so it's not in the 20 volt platform. It's the most powerful track saw that I've used to date, other than maybe the Makita 40 volt. It is a beast of a track saw. However, just the way it plunges and the tracks that it's running on, it just kind of separates itself from the pack, and it's kind of odd. It's very odd to use. It's kind of a weird feeling to use versus the other track saws. I actually think the Makita or the Milwaukee's best for most people. If you're going for a track saw, I think you should look there. Unless you're just a diehard DeWALT fan, then I think you'll be fine with the DeWALT. There's nothing absolutely wrong with it. I just think most people should avoid it because it's just kind of, it's an odd duck. You know, it's kind of one of those things. I am too, so I totally relate with the DeWALT track saw. But for most people, they'd be happier, I think, with the Makita or the Milwaukee track saw over the DeWALT. And with being in the 60 volt platform, it puts you in a different battery set anyway, so you might as well get one of the other ones. But you let me know if I'm wrong. If you like this video, you got to check out 5 Milwaukee tools that are on another level, but there's one there you should avoid as well. Click in that box, get you the big old virtual fist bump.